Me. So my name's Laura Garcia, and I am a former SAC student and former Ranger editor, and I am now a healthcare reporter at the San Antonio Express News, and I am based here in San Antonio. And yeah, oh, I'm also president of the San Antonio Association of Hispanic Journalists, and very active in that organization, and I will tell you more about. And is that it? Yes. And a mom of a now 6-year-old. And yes, Southwest High School grad. Pretty proud about that. And yes, so I will talk a little bit about my journey, like just kind of getting into my career and some of the experiences that I've had. And feel free to raise your hand or send a question in the chat, and I will explain further. Okay, so let's see. I graduated in 2005. And I got a scholarship to SAC from the Urban Journalism Workshop, which was like a journalism boot camp. Hi, Dr. Lowe.
Hi.
And so I had that scholarship, and I went to SAC to just do my basics and everything. And I immediately got into the Ranger and took Dr. Lowe's class and was scared away and had quit for a year or so. And because it's a lot of work and I didn't have a car, I was like living far away. And I just wasn't like serious about it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, which is okay. And then I, started taking more of my basic classes at SAC and some of my minor classes in psychology, and I missed it. So I got back into journalism, and the Ranger embraced me and said, okay, welcome me back. And I was there for, gosh, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 semesters. But I worked my way up from an assistant designer. We redesigned then we were still printing the newspaper, and what else? I was president of SPJ while I was there, but really we were just churning out the news. And I quickly sort of made my way up to becoming editor of the paper. And yeah, we had some good runs. I very quickly learned how to cover the district board meetings, and became a major pain for the then chancellor, embattled chancellor, and questioning, because he just made way too much money. And a lot of the faculty and staff were unhappy with what he was doing, and there was votes of no confidence. And that was just sort of a really exciting thing. He actually wrote a letter to the editor that was published, and he was he was not very complimentary about me, which I was very proud of. Because he was basically saying that I was a good journalist. I was going after what we needed to find out, right? And getting the news out there. And he is a public employee, right? Paid by our taxpayer dollars. And so in that, in that position, he has to be transparent, and he should be honest, and he owes us answers to our questions. And so that was kind of one of my first experiences in journalism, was in college at SAC. And from there, I did paid internships every summer, and I worked at a magazine, and just kind of made my way up. And let's see, the way I was able to afford it was through scholarships. And waiting tables all through college. And then I was able to go to Texas State, and I commuted and finished my degree. And as soon as I graduated, I had gotten an internship at the Roanoke Times, which is in Virginia and southwestern Virginia, so mountainous area, and had never been away from home that far. So that was a really great experience. And so I did that for about 8 months, and then came home. And with that, I had clips and stuff, and I was able to freelance at the Express News. And I got my first job, which was in Victoria, Texas, which is about, let me see, 2 hours away, closer to the coast and in the middle of nowhere. And I was there for 5 years, and I worked my way up. I became features editor. And at those small daily newspapers, you kind of do everything. So learned a whole bunch, and I finally was able to get back home to San Antonio. And I was on the business desk. I had applied for a position as a healthcare reporter on the business desk and got that. And I was doing that for a while. And now I am on the Metro desk, which means that a lot of my stories, like today, if you've seen the front page, that's my story right on the front. And I am now the primary COVID-19 reporter, and I still cover healthcare business, and still get to do sort of what I want to do and the stories I want to do, which is, I'm from here. I grew up over here by SeaWorld, and I want to report on the healthcare of Hispanic and Latino residents, and focus on those communities, maybe the ones that aren't subscribing or aren't, they are not paid subscribers, but I think that they deserve coverage, and they're doing good things out there, and like that's really what I want to focus on. So recently I was accepted into a fellowship program where they are actually going to they are paying me extra money to be able to report on an in-depth, like an investigation. It's a 3-part series that should come out. Everything needs to be published by December 31. So I'm very, I'm very stressed out right now, because I'm still in the reporting process and I have a lot of work to do. But basically, I've been given a chunk of money to be able to buy whatever I need to for reporting. So if that, for engagement, they're giving me, I think it's $2,000. But basically, if I want to have an event on the South Side, like a live event, which would be hard with COVID, but they will pay for me to get that venue, for me to get, snacks, and for me to, do advertising or whatever I need to do. Some people have done, they've paid to get like a hotline made, or a website, and just to sort of engage readers. And so I'm I'm doing that. I'm still kind of at the beginning of that project, so I'm still kind of figuring it out. But it's really exciting that that they believe in my idea and my stories that I want to tell, and are putting money behind it. And so this is through the USC Annenberg School of Healthcare Journalism, I believe, in California. And I see some stuff in the chat. Let me see.
It's about attendance.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's fine. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I will tell you what I did yesterday. I was downtown at City Hall. They have a studio that they record their COVID-19 briefing. So the mayor was there, Judge Nelson Wolf was there, and the Metro Health director, Claude Jacob, was there. And it's a live sort of televised TV studio situation, and I'm there and I can ask questions. So it's on TV and on Facebook Live and all that. And I cover those every Tuesday and Thursday. And yesterday was a big one because we had surpassed that 4,000 deaths mark. So our death toll in San Antonio and Bexar County alone is 4,017 right now, in the past 18 months. And so we, I recognize, I kind of saw that was coming. We were inching toward, that sort of milestone. And so while I was there, the public officials, I don't know if anybody watches that, but they were like, everything's good, we're heading in the right direction. And so my question right after when they open it to the press, which there's about 5 of us there, it's open to all press, but this, not every outlet shows up every time like we do. And I'm like, okay, so that's a lot of people that have died. What can you say about that? Like, who is dying? Is it disproportionately, is it just all across the city? And no, like there are, even though the population is majority Hispanic or Latino, primarily Mexican American, we are disproportionately affected by COVID. So, there are more Latinos that are dying from COVID than other ethnic and racial groups. And it's mostly men, and it is now younger. It used to be when COVID first came out, it was the very elderly sort of set. And that's shifted now with, with the folks who remain unvaccinated, and the new Delta variant. I say new, but it's been a few months and it's way more contagious. And, so I've just been on top of that in terms of like the science and understanding how that affects us here in San Antonio. So I'm not writing for the New York Times or for WAPO, Washington Post, where I need to be explaining to all of America what this new variant is and whatever no, I'm focusing on the COVID crisis here, and trying to talk to public health officials, and find out more about, how can we protect the people here, right? Like, how can we do better? And where are some of the opportunities where we're maybe not doing so well? So they have been saying, oh, we have plenty of testing sites. Oh yes, we are just great with testing, and I noticed one day that I had just sort of heard anecdotally that people were having a hard time finding tests. And I know that I went to look for the at-home ones and I had to go to 4 different stores to get them. And so I'm looking at this, at the Metro Health has like a list of 13 free sites, and I go there and they have absolutely no appointments it was last Thursday when I was looking. There was nothing for that day. I'm like, okay, there was nothing, and it showed nothing for Friday, nothing for Saturday. So if I wanted to get a free test in San Antonio, I could not get one for 3 days. Like there was zero availability. And the next day they kind of opened up some. But I'm a journalist, so I'm checking every day and I'm always online. Imagine if I, just had checked that one day on Thursday and I'm like, well, there's nothing here. Oh, well, whatever. I'm just going to go to work, even if I'm not feeling well. These kind of things, like that is going to spread the transmission of the virus in our community, or if somebody they were like, no, I really need to get tested. I went and looked at the non-free options that they had listed and called them up and checked their website. And you could pay anywhere from $150 to $305 for a single test, because you had to pay for an office visit, and this is despite the fact that the federal government has said you don't have to pay for COVID tests. Well, there are ways around that, and it's been so long that the insurance companies, they decide whether or not you should have had a test, right? And so they won't always cover it, and so they will send you a surprise bill. So all those sort of issues is what I focus on, what I try to write about. And I've been here for 2.5 years at the Express News, and it's really a dream to be working at my daily newspaper in the city that I grew up in. But I'm one of the few local folks who are from here that work in the newsroom. A lot of times we get folks from like the fancy journalism schools at Northwestern or Mill or whatever, and they come down and they use the Express News maybe as a stepping spot to go to the Houston Cron or whatever, Dallas Morning News, and on up to national publications. But I'm really, that's not what I want to do. I want to stay here, right here at home where my family is, where I'm raising my son. And so sometimes I'm not chasing all of the like super sexy stories that I know would be really, that I could get an award or that kind of thing, that is just kind of like sensational. I try my best to do stories that are important for consumers here. The way I think about it is I want to write a story in a way that my grandma's reading the paper and can understand it, right? I see a lot of other journalists, and that's fine, but they really want to flex their vocabulary skills and use these super these words that normal regular folk just they've never been exposed to, or they don't understand. And for me, I just think that that's like a turnoff, that's not what I want to do. So sometimes we have I'll kind of butt heads with the editors where they want to put something in my story or phrase something a certain way. And I'm like, no, I purposely did that. I want to say it that way because people don't understand what this word means. You have to explain it. So those are the kind of like everyday things that we deal with, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to inform my own community, the public here, and especially like healthcare is just so important. So my beat, I feel, there's so many really cool things that I could be covering, just maybe that I'm like interested in. And sometimes I do that, but like during a time of pandemic, like right now, I'm trying to juggle all the different kind of stories that I could be writing and see like what is the most important right now, like what do people need to know. And sometimes that makes me shift my schedule, or like, okay, I'm gonna have to push this story back that I just think is like really cool or interesting, but people need to know this right now. So a lot of what I do is like time management, trying to fit everything in. Okay, there is a question from Rocky. What are the skills that you learned from the Ranger do you still use at the Express News today? And how much would you say working for the Ranger prepared you for the Express News? Okay, so the skills that I learned from the Ranger, oh my gosh, everything. So the Ranger, I learned how to write a basic story, all the things that you need to know, actually how to write it, and how to file a story, and how to go through the editing process and get it ready for print or for publication. All those little things, how to take photos when needed, right? Like I take photos on my iPhone all the time, just in case. The Express News, were kind of spoiled because we have a very like robust, super talented photo team, and they don't want us taking photos. They want to be taking the photos. But there are times when I can't get a photographer out and I'm out on the scene and I need to take, I'll need to take a picture. And sometimes those run in the paper. And so I learned those basic skills of like how to, take steady video, how to frame a photo, all those basic things there at the Ranger. And that's something that I still use today. So years later, decade later, I'm still, I mean, the technology has changed some, but those basic skills, those are like the building blocks that I learned at the Ranger. And in and also like I was able to kind of fail at the Ranger too, you know? So I was able to make mistakes there and have the support where they're like, well, wait a minute, like, did you actually check this out that the source told you? And come to find out it wasn't exactly accurate, and so um hopefully those happen like before we printed, but that was kind of what I learned at the Ranger, right? How to work part of a team, how to like I said, I was an editor there. I had sort of moved my way up to editor, and I learned how to also this sound weird, but like manage people as well. So how to be a leader in a group. And the way that I found how to do that, what works for me and helped me when I was in my leadership roles now is just kind of understanding where everybody is coming from and respecting everybody at whatever level that they're at. Whatever they can provide for the paper, for our finished product, whatever their skills are, I'm going to try to help them do the best that they can, and use those, right, and fit them in where I need them. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I kind of learned how to do that. Like, there's you're thinking about management styles there, and so I'm probably around the same age as people, but I mean the Ranger has sort of a different student population. So I had folks that were working in the newsroom, reporters that were older than me, or maybe had come back to school after serving in the military, or that kind of thing, and just all kinds of different people. And so I learned how people respond to the way that you ask them for things, and how to really show them that you respect them and that sort of thing, in a real way. So that was one of the things that kind of helped me with my leadership roles is, not everybody really responds the same way, you know what I mean? So sometimes, you have to, there's different techniques that you can use, but you have to talk to people. Some people, like, they are just like, just tell me what you need and I'll do it, and it's like, quit and just tell me and I'll go. Some people, they don't like that. It's like you're barking an order at them. They want you to tell them why you need something done a certain way, something like that. And so I've learned my approach to leadership just there at the Ranger. And before I even had graduated, so I was a sophomore. And so that kind of really prepared me for the Ranger. And I think that also, I know that y'all are probably mostly digital, virtual sort of meeting, but being in the same room with people and their different personalities and their different talents and everything, you kind of also just learn how to work with different people, so some people are really loud on the phone even when they're interviewing, and it's so obnoxious, and you're and you're trying to work, but you learn how to, okay, that's what works for them, and fine, I will find a way around it, so we can keep the peace and keep everybody productive. So yeah, I learned how to tuck in my chair, because Trish does not let you walk away and leave your chair out. So certain little quirks like that, I've learned newsroom manners, right, in that way. I'm not touching my screen. I very rarely will have my headphones, both of them in. I think that, like, the Ranger, we just learn how to have that awareness where you'll have like one bud in, or you're kind of you're aware of your surroundings and what's going on in the newsroom. Let me see. And also, I mean, I don't want to, so skills, not just the basic stuff. I mean, when I was at SAC, I covered breaking news events. Like at that time it was swine flu. So it was another sort of quarantine situation. There were like bomb threats. I covered a murder trial during my time at SAC. So there was actually it was really sad, like a librarian had shot and killed another librarian at, I think it was at Northeast Lakeview College. And so I had covered that trial. It was my first time in a, courtroom situation. And yeah, so there was just a wealth of all kinds of different experiences that I was able to do while I was at the Ranger. Let's see, good tips and pointers for managing stress during tight deadlines. That's one of the questions that's on there. What are some good tips and pointers for managing stress during tight deadlines? I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I have been doing this professionally for about 8 years, and I am still trying to figure out some of the best ways to sort of manage that. I like to do, I really like to have like, my calendar and write things down, important things that way, and kind of manage my time that way. Let me see, hold on. I have all kinds of little ways that I use. So this is like every day, right? And so I write down my stories or interviews that I have going on for the day. Lots and lots of sticky notes. I mean, it's ridiculous. I try all those different techniques to try to stay organized. That's really important. Because I hate to say that I'm going to do something and then not do it. So yeah, so that's, I don't know what good tips. Sometimes like I'm not good at it and like my eyes twitching, throughout the day, because I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm forgetting something. But yeah, I mean, I just do the best that I can. And I think sometimes it's just realizing that I'm only one person and I can only do so much. And, there's only so much time in the day. And I just have to do my best and try to prioritize, like, okay, this is what needs to be done right now. And you know what, that's going to have to be pushed back a day or two, so that's really, and I think that people respect, if you're on top of that, people respect that you're honest with them. Right. So sometimes I'll tell the source, like, okay, I don't know when this is going to run. I like the story. I want to write it, but, I will let you know. Like I'm not going to promise it's coming out tomorrow. And I honestly can never promise if something's going to come out because I'm not the boss. Right. I don't make those decisions about what goes on the front page. I turn in my stuff and like sort of pray that like it's good enough and that they like it and that it will run. But I don't, yeah, like that's not part of my job. So I try not to stress about that. Let's see.
Laura, we have a lot of photojournalists in the session right now. What are your COVID protocols when you go out and do an interview? Because we're back in the classroom, so they're going to start taking up assignments. And so, like, masks, you change clothes when you go home. What is it that you do to prep and handle dealing with the public?
For me, the number one thing for me was as soon as I was able to get the vaccine, I got the vaccine and I'm fully vaccinated. And that's because that's just the best way that you can protect yourself during this pandemic. So I made sure that I was able to do that right away. I always have masks on me. If I'm going into somewhere that I feel like a hospital or somewhere really crowded where I don't know the vaccination status of a lot of the people around, I will double mask. I will do like a paper mask and a cloth mask on top. A lot of my colleagues, photographers, were wearing like the N95 kind of masks, and which is a better version, a tighter sort of seal on those. they were pretty expensive, and so I didn't really invest in those, but I know that some people are still using them. I think that from what I've read, like really any kind of face covering mask is going to help protect you, and it's better than nothing. So that's important. You want to always be wearing a mask. Let's see. Wash your hands a lot. Hand sanitizer. I always have hand sanitizer on me. Let me see. I think that during COVID, we also had to be creative about how we were doing photos. So if you don't feel comfortable being within closer than 6 feet of somebody you're taking a photo of, maybe use a different lens and get a little bit further back, or be more creative with the kind of photos that you're doing. My job, they want you to be safe, and they don't want you to be feel like you're putting your life at risk just to try to get that shot. I mean, there will be another shot, there will be another day. And so that's really what all those different things, right? Masking properly, hand sanitizing, getting vaccinated if you can. That's really how we were able to. And whenever I go into a hospital, they have different protocols. So I will put what they call like a bunny suit. And so I will put an actual, I will get into a suit that they will provide, some sometimes booties on the shoes, and something like on my hair. Anyway, it's more crazy, and the hospital provides all of that for the photographers. It's kind of like a liability. They don't want you to get sick either. So, but I mean, to be honest, I was doing that anyway when I was covering. Whenever I would go into an operating room and I'm doing medical stories, right? I'm covering surgeries and they allow me into the operating room, I would be donning that same sort of level of PPE. So yeah, I would say be prepared, have those things on you. But if you're going into like a medical setting, often they are going to have that for you too. So don't stress out about it. Let's see, what else? So I found during the pandemic that a lot of the work that I can do a lot of work from home. So I was always sort of used to, no, I need to see their faces. I need to be right there. But Zoom is a good alternative. I've actually also FaceTimed with, a lot of people have iPhones now. So I've FaceTimed with sources. That way I can see their facial reactions when we're doing interviews and such. And that's been really helpful. Because really, I don't want to put anybody's life at risk. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. So a lot of times I'll ask them oh, is in person okay? If not, we'll try to do a Zoom. If not, we can do a phone. A phone call is, if we have time, I prefer not to do a phone call. But sometimes you just have to you got to pick a phone, you got to talk to them really quick, especially if it's like breaking news, you need that story in today, you need it in tomorrow. I mean, sometimes you just cannot be everywhere. You cannot drive. San Antonio is huge. You cannot just drive to every single interview sometimes, and be there in person. And so I kind of learned how to work around that instinct that I have to always be there, Let's see.
So how can these students get involved with SAHJ?
Yeah. So I got involved as a professional, but you don't have to be a professional. You can be a student and be involved in SAHJ. So it's San Antonio Association of Hispanic Journalists. You do not have to be Hispanic to be a member. You just have to support our mission of trying to make newsrooms more diverse and have them reflect the community that we serve here. And so I say newsroom, but really we represent all kinds of journalism outlets. So we do TV, radio, online only publications. Even we have folks that are communications professionals, like PR people that are part of our group. And you can be a member. It costs $10 to be a member. And you could just pay on the website. And yeah, so what we do is we meet, actually since the pandemic, we have been doing Zoom meetings. So we don't meet in person anymore. We meet on Zoom it's the third Saturday of the month, right? And it's about an hour and a half. And we have those are our member meetings. The officers meet more often than that. We have events that we host. We just recently held a huge fundraising event, which we did not know we were going to be able to have because of COVID and the restrictions on how many people you can have in the room and that sort of thing. And we pulled it together in about 3 months. It was an event for 120 people. And really what it was to raise money for student scholarships. And I was a recipient of that scholarship when I was at SAC and when I was at Texas State. And so that helped me when I was in college. And so that was one of the reasons why I came back, and I'm now president of the organization and sort of leading that. And we raised, oh my gosh, I think it was $106,000 that we raised for that event, which is a huge thing for a nonprofit that has no paid staff. We are all journalists and media professionals who have full-time jobs and families and lives, and but we just find it really important to try to support student journalists. Let's see. Oh my gosh, covering Hurricane Harvey. Okay, so one of the craziest experiences I guess I have had, one of the most one of the hardest experiences that I have had reporting so far was covering Hurricane Harvey. And so I was working in Victoria, Texas. It's a smallish town. And it's about 50 minutes from the coast. And so when Hurricane Harvey came through, it actually just really, it caused so much damage. It ripped roofs off. We didn't have any fatalities that night, but the property damage was crazy. And there were so many people that were already just living, just trying to survive like month by month. And so something comes in that rips a hole on the side of their wall, and they don't have money to try to fix that, or if they were renting, like they don't have anywhere to go, whether landlord's trying to do that. And so it was a crazy thing. So we had like the damage from the actual hurricane, which was like wind and on the roofs and stuff. And then shortly thereafter, we had a flood. And of course, it flooded in the just the poorest part of the city. And it really exposed the level of poverty. And I actually had a 1-year-old when that was happening. And so I remember at that time, the editor was like, okay, everybody, we're going to get your bags. We're going to sleep at the newsroom. We're all going to be here. Bring your pets, whatever. And I'm just thinking, I'm the only one that had a kid at the time. And I'm just thinking, no, I'm absolutely not bringing my baby to the newsroom. No. I am all about the mission for journalism. And yes, I want to be there and cover it. But I'm also a mom, and I'm not going to put my child through that. And so I was lucky that I had an editor that was like, wait a minute, Laura, can you cover it from San Antonio? Can you evacuate with all these people that are evacuating, cover that process and work remotely from San Antonio? Because you will have steady like internet access. It didn't hit San Antonio. A safe place, and you'll be able to work online and do all of that stuff. And I that's what I did. So I went through that process, so while a lot of the journalists were like in the middle of the hurricane in the newsroom, I had a different sort of experience. I was actually evacuating with my family, which was a lot of what people were doing, our community was doing. And I went to those evacuation centers and covered that and what they were going through. And I mean, I think that was really hard for me, because I had always before been like, I need to be there. I need to, right in the middle of it, right? Breaking news is happening. I just need to, if it's midnight, who cares? Let's go, and, but you can't do that when you have a family. And I think that, when you have a baby, and I was still breastfeeding, like, there was no way I could do that. And so, I learned a lesson there of how to balance, right? Like, and I was still able to be a darn good journalist from San Antonio, and do stories that people who were still in Victoria at the newsroom, they had no access to power, no water, no restrooms. Like, I was able to do stories that they weren't able to, from afar. And then I came back, and I had never stopped working. I was working I think I worked 13 days straight. And it was nuts, because people were relying, all of a sudden, people who were like, oh, we hate the paper, whatever, they were like, we need the Victoria Advocate, because they were trying to figure out, what stores are open, what streets can I get access to, can I access my home right now? There was flooding everywhere. There was big, huge power lines and trees down in all the streets. HEB closed. I mean, people were trying to figure out, where do I get water, food, with all these stores closed. And so gas, I mean, just all those things. So that was really, that was just a whole experience. And I was just go for months, because you think after New York Times left Victoria and the Washington Post, we were still there covering it every single day, that recovery process. And I mean, I think that it was just like, it was like a marathon, right? Like, so like you had to sort of take care of yourself and get through that for, through months of that, and seeing people just in these terrible conditions, and interviewing them you're interviewing them in their home that is completely wrecked all around. You guys are standing in this moldy, disgusting, like, that's their home, and you're talking to them in that room. And so that has a toll, I think, emotionally on you. And so there's some trauma with reporting that. And it was until like 6 months later that I was just like, I was struggling with that, and I had to seek some help, and to take care of my health and my mental health. And so that was another sort of lesson that I learned, that, I can't keep doing the news. I can't keep reporting if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not doing what I need to kind of keep going. Let's see. How to manage a busy schedule. I don't know. You have a routine. I mean, my routine, it is, I have to get my kid ready for school, make the lunch boxes, all that sort of stuff, get him to school. And then, what I do is I have to kind of see all my different stories and figure out how to manage that time. Like, what do I need to do for that day so that I can get this done, so that this is filed in time. Let's see, pro tips. I did not cover Hurricane Ida in Louisiana. So I'm based here in San Antonio. I have a friend that's over there in Louisiana, and she doesn't have water right now. We just sent her a care package, but she's also a journalist. She's an environmental journalist, so she is extremely busy over there. And and that's kind of one of the things with journalism too, is like it's a very small world. So as you're going through these fellowships and these different jobs, you will you will meet people from all over the world and have contacts everywhere pretty much. But no, I did not cover that one. As part of SACS, we had like a traveling reporting trip that we did, and we covered the aftermath of the BP oil spill. And I think it was a 5-year anniversary of what was it?
Katrina.
Of Katrina. That's right. And it was incredible because, we were there on the scene, just going all along the coast reporting. And 5 years later, and they were still trying to recover, trying to rebuild their businesses and their homes. And that's a lot what I saw in Victoria with the hurricane. It's, you know, um, it takes a long time to rebuild your lives after these sort of major events. And journalism is really important. Community journalism is really important in those areas, because they are looking to you for, information on, how to survive at that point. Like, this is very important information. And it's not just like once HEB opened again and everything, the roads opening, and that's great. But they needed to know, okay, how do I file these insurance claims? What if I didn't have insurance? What programs do I qualify for under FEMA and the government? And, what is the city and the state doing? Do they have any funds to help us with any of this? And what are the churches and the nonprofits doing? And so that became the story really after that. Let's see. Any other questions? I think I'm pretty close to time.
You are.
Any kind of last questions? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
Can
This
they
is a work
contact
week
you?
for me. I still have to work today, y'all.
And, we will have some mass comm students who probably need someone to shadow. Are you open to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm always, I love when students shadow me, because I shadowed a reporter at the Express News, and I was very grateful for the time that they gave me. I shadowed a crime reporter. And so, yes, absolutely, I'm down. And if I'm busy and not able to, I will help you find someone who maybe who's closer to your interest too, like you know, another colleague, and get you connected that way. Yes. And I'm very available, Twitter and email and everything. But yeah, if I don't respond, send me another message. I never understood people like that, because I was always like, if I get a text message, I'm immediately like responding to it. You know what I mean? And now that I'm like super busy, there are times that like I'll read it and I'll think I responded, and then I didn't. And so so keep that in mind when you're seeking mentors, when you're trying to, talk to other journalists. Like, we've got a lot of different balls like in the air that we're trying to kind of keep everything going.
How important is social media for like student journalists and people who are trying to get a foot in the door? Do they need to scrub what they've done in college and high school, or should they just put their stories up or have a more just their name? No,
So I think I had an advantage because I did journalism in high school. So when social media was first starting up, I already knew I wanted to be a journalist. So I knew the rules. I knew I should not be cussing online. I should not be saying all kinds of political stuff, posting sort of revealing sort of photos and stuff like that. Like, or me like at the bar taking shots. Like, I already sort of knew, like, probably don't do that. So so I didn't have to like really scrub anything when I kind of went pro, but you definitely need to keep that in mind. And people, I look at people's social media all the time for sources, and especially if you're like a public official or a leader, I am always going to be looking at like what you're posting. And sometimes that turns into a story. So yes, behave on social media. Does social media play any kind of role to journalism? Yeah, no, I think it does. I use social media to contact sources sometimes. Like that's where people are. I have the what is the neighborhood app? I've used that sometimes on my app. When they're always talking about missing cats and stuff. And
Next door.
Thank you, Nextdoor. I have Nextdoor. I have messaged people through Nextdoor for sources, for story ideas, all these different platforms. Sometimes I'll get ideas from just Instagram and what's trending, what people are talking about. I'll see what people are having questions about or that are confused about. And I'll say, you know what, maybe I need to do an explainer piece, a story on that. People don't understand what the different kinds of testing, or they don't understand, certain things. So yeah, I use it as a tool all the time for social media. Also, since we are working remotely and my newsroom is my home office, I use social media platforms all the time to talk to colleagues too. So that's really important, to be able to springboard ideas and to share sources and yeah, you don't want to be working like in a silo and just by yourself. Like I need to be talking to other people. So that I think that improves my journalism, and so I use that as well.